beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good karma is a must. Still my shooter in the cut. I was stuck inside a rut. Played the game, made bank, move G. Anything to get a buck. You won't find me in the club. I'm in the lab trying to sharpen up the sword. Swinging blades at these scrubs. Bitches flock like bugs to the light. Getting right. Treat my hoes like these raps. I don't really got a type. Off top, bullshitting. All I needed was a mic. Yeah. Hey, pass the rock, it's all butter. Pack your bags and take flight. Don't worry, it's all covered. Hey, live your life while you can. Our days are all numbered. Rain could cause thunder, but the sun comes after, clearing up the disaster.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back and focus on what's in front of me. Everybody dates a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Yeah.
I got some places I should take you to see. You know it's easy when you ride with a G. Light speed, moving fast through the city, trying to find me some peace. I finally lived to be the guy that I was dying to be. Still I got some trust issues, people lie through their teeth. The more I grew, the more they hide in the crease. Squad building, weak members get released. If we try to compete, starting pitchers need relief. Bro, we building a team, everybody got a niche. I've been known to play mine to a T, but it's time for me to lead. Picking dirt right out the cleats. Steep path, roadblocks in the streets, trying to knock me off my feet, cause the devil never sleeps. So I don't sleep too, and trying to breach safes that I didn't have the keys to. We all been victims of trauma we ain't agreed to, but the sun comes after, starting up a new chapter.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back and focus on what's in front of me. Everybody dates a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Yeah. Isn't it lovely?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, followed by my partner, as always.
This is Sparta!
The ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Panagiotis. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area on the second Sunday in March. Hope you guys are caught up on your sleep. In fact, I was going to actually use this sort of as a side topic tonight, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But first and foremost, Pete, how you doing tonight, sir? What's going on?
Exhausted. What about you?
Yeah, totally. I did get some sleep this afternoon, though. I might have slept like 4 or 5 hours, man. I just did not have a, usually I kind of prepare myself for this. In fact, I got a good friend of mine. It's like he's funny. Every year, the night before, he always sends me a text. Make sure you set your daylight savings time, whether going forward or backwards. He's been a friend of mine for 20 years, and he's always giving me that information. He's a sweet dude, and he always gives that to me. But again, so I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I've seen this in the chat. Corey Joe, as to better. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. Good to have you here. As you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, gentlemen, certainly make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button as you come in, and on both networks. Certainly hop on over to Sparta HQ. Make sure you hit it there as well. And you can also consider dropping a Cash App or a Super Chat to the Black Man Unfiltered Network or the Sparta HQ Network. Well, we're getting close. We're getting close to monetization on that network, and OP is working very hard. Certainly get his channel monetized. So we'll be saying that soon. But in the meantime, you can certainly drop Cash Apps to our Cash App account scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, this is our call-in show. So we encourage anyone who wants to join us and make sure when you come up, make sure that your camera must be on. And if you just want to say hi to us, if you just want to have a little exchange with us based on shows that we've done in the past or anything that might be pressing that you want to talk to us about, certainly we're here for tonight. But as we go through this, there was because of the lack of sleep that I got last night. I started thinking about just my sleep pattern overall. Now, Pete, how much on average would you say? How much sleep do you get a night?
Oh, it's horrible. 4 to 5, if I'm lucky.
4 to 5. I'm more 5 to 6er for whatever reason, and I should know better. Obviously, me being older, and I know certainly as a trainer, and I understand that especially when it comes to strength training, sleep is arguably the most anabolic ingredient in terms of muscle growth and recovery. I know better, but just with my schedule being the way it is or how it's been so long, I got so used to sleeping on 5 and maybe 6 hours of sleep that I'm so used to it. It's hard to increase it. And it is interesting when I increase my sleep. Let's say you got the holiday, you got the day off, and you just decide to sleep in. Hey, shout out to my man Eric. Good to be. Thanks for joining us tonight. So we're also going to, certainly ask the chat as well as you guys come in. How much sleep are you guys getting? Are you getting that? Everyone says 7-8 hours of sleep. That's like the sweet spot you need to be getting. But with me, I notice when I get like 8 hours of sleep, by midday, I'm like in this fog. Like I need a nap in the afternoon when I sleep too much. And so I've never been a fan of, those sort of lazy holidays or, like the day after Thanksgiving or whatever, and you're just lounging up. And I just feel like very lethargic. So I would say no more than 7. So Boss Man himself saying hardly 6 hours of sleep. But I just tend to get more done that way. Even on vacation, when we were on a cruise, it wasn't like we were sleeping like 9-10 hours a day or just lounging all day long, because again, you get into port and there's things you want to do and place you got to go. You can always crash when you get back, but I don't know. I'm just and just the way, especially in America, and countries around the world. In fact, I got several links I want to share here tonight. I didn't get a chance to put a PowerPoint in, but I found some interesting things to talk about sleep, how people sleep around the world. I found that to be interesting. But certainly for the people who come in tonight, as we, again, the phone line, the line, I say phone line, I'm showing my age there, but the link has been dropped. And so again, for anybody who wants to join us tonight and just come up and say hi to us. You see the link in the chat, just come and cam up, say hi to us. But we're going to keep the conversation rolling in the meantime. But talk about that piece.
And
so
respectfully.
in your situation, yes, keep it respectful always, or we'll take you down. We keep it very clean on the show. But yeah, but talk about that. What's as far as shout out to True North Beer Company. Always
My man's in the house.
Appreciate you coming in tonight. I'm still waiting for those bald products, right? And we have a whole community. We have the bold and the beautiful, beneficent Bald Brotherhood of the BMU Network. So we are looking for bald products. And even though your company is the True North Beer Company, we're banking on that. You're going to drop some things.
Well, it's saying the beer community. All right, yes. Because I'm part of the beer community. I love having a beard. I always have a beard. You know that.
Bald people need some love too, though. So
wait, hang on. Hear me out.
See, he just dropped a good point. See. There's a I'm telling you, there's a market again.
I have a good one going for you.
Revolution is coming. So I'm telling you, it's got to be.
Hear me out. All right. Once you go beard, you don't go back. That's all I gotta say.
That's what I hear, but I think it's all hype. It's all hype. So I know Eric.
He just said in the bottom. He says he's working on some things for you.
I got you. I appreciate it. Yeah, drop me some samples, man. We'll hype you up on the network, for sure. But
I'm actually trying to get him on a guest here soon. I already spoke to him about it. We're trying to work out schedules. He says he'll get back to me, so hopefully we'll get him up here soon. I'd really like to pick his brain and see how he created this company, what got him into beards. I know he's a great man overall. Every time I spoke to him, so I want to break it down and find out who is True North. Who is True North behind the scenes? That's what I really want to find out.
Sounds good. I would look forward to that conversation as well. But but talk about that, Pete. I mean, you're saying 4 or 5 hours. So like, what's going on? I know you work. I know a few guys who worked in culinary. And I know, restaurant hours, you're putting a lot of hours and whatnot. That could be a thing. But what's going on? Why do you get only 4 or 5? Do you want more? Or you just function? I just function better around 6 hours. I
need a little more. I definitely need maybe 1 or 2 hours more. I'll be very happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
8. I haven't got 8 in since forever. I can't remember last time 8 hours. I don't remember last time I could say I slept in and I just relaxed. Play some video games and do nothing. Those days have gone. I think the last time I slept a little bit was maybe 6, maybe 7 when I visited Q for my vacation. I go every year.
Mm-hmm.
Is multiple things. Work is one. B, I have Alex. I have to make sure I take him for his walks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. If he passes his certain time, he starts jumping on the bed, crying, whining, all of this stuff. So he has to go out at a certain time. Usually between 8 and 9 is his sweet spot. I can push it at 10, but he's not a fan of that. He looks at me like, dude, Berling.
Yeah. Same.
The other part is I got mom. I got to make sure she's good. Her breakfast is done. Lunch is done. I got things going on in the morning. So I'm running around. By the time then I do my thing. I might work 8 hours, sometimes 9. Sometimes 10. It depends on the day. How short staff we are. That's where it comes down to it.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest. I got a great chef. He jumps in. He always says to me, if I don't get dirty, I feel like I need to get a good day's work in. And I respect them for that.
Right.
So the other half is I come home. Sometimes I go to the gym after work. And like I told you the other day, I dropped 15 pounds already. So
yeah, great work. Great job.
Yeah. So going to the gym, then working on this stuff. This is a second full-time job. Working on our content and between the gray area and my sporting stuff. It's only so much time in a day I have.
Yeah.
And I need to get better. It's just hard to get better. That's the problem. Because I have to wake up if I have to be at work at 9:30, for example, I have to leave here about 8. So my alarm clock starts at 7. Let me show you how bad my alarm clock is, because nobody ever believes me how bad it is. And it's pretty bad. So it starts at 6 and it goes every 5 minutes. It goes one off.
So how many snoozes do you hit before you finally get up? Me, I'm good with about 3. Third snooze is usually like, it's time to go.
It takes me an hour to get out of bed.
An hour to get out of bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, you haven't gotten enough from the night before. I mean, the less you get, the harder it's going to be to kind of get out of that. But I think a lot of people in that situation, especially in the United States, well, a lot of these developed nations. In fact, again, we're going to go over that. Because there's people who get less sleep than us. But again, just with the busyness of life, with the responsibilities, with work, with and really, I think a lot of it also boils down to people's inability to kind of turn the day off. Like, how do you get to sleep? It may take you so you talk about 4 to 5 hours of sleep, but again, it takes you an hour to get to sleep, and then it takes you an hour to get up, because a lot of times people cannot turn their brains off when it comes to like going down, because you're already thinking about the next day when you go down. So again, there's a million things that are going on in your mind, even if you're married, and even like your love life. I mean, you gotta fit that in somewhere as well. So how do you put that in? I mean, especially if you got two busy professionals, your careers, how do you guys even get together just to not only be intimate with one another, but just when was the last time you just in bed with your wife, no cares in the world or whatever, and y'all just either just snuggling or just, having that grown conversation or whatnot, just spending another half hour, an hour in bed with your wife. I mean, so again, but it's always like, okay, stuff's done or whatever. Okay, now we got to get up and we got to get on the day. The dog has to go out. I got to go to work. I got, baby, I'll see you later. So sleep is becoming more and more of a premium for people. And I know with the immediacy of what's required of us, being a husband, as Boss Man was saying, being a father, being a professional, being a coach or volunteer, or working on, like I said, if you got your side hustle going on. So a lot of people, if you're not doing Uber Eats or whatever, you're working on your social media and whatnot, it's just a grind. And people, are constantly in that space. At least here, it's like, yeah, I gotta go. If you get more than, in fact, I've known people. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example. I know he's known for saying, really, that do you think that if you disagree? Shout out to Joshua Jones. So again, this is the call-in show, so you're certainly free to come up with us. We're just talking about sleep, just to fill the space. So again, if you want to come up, again, the link is in the chat if you want to drop in and say hello to us. But certainly, again, we're going to keep the conversation going in the meantime until we have people who want to show up. But you're more than welcome to join the conversation. But I know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was like, look, you don't need more than 5 hours of sleep. If you get more than 5 hours of sleep, you're lazy. So there's almost like a mindset here with a lot of influencers, with a lot of business people.
Also, that I remember him saying also, he used to say, sleep faster. I need out, sleep faster. That's what he used to say, pump and iron, if you remember.
Yeah, so it's like he doesn't, and he's like one of those people who may be like, he may not need a ton of sleep. And again, some of this stuff is obviously going to be individual. But when you find, especially if you are, like I said, if you're training, I know for me, it's like when I, it catches up to me after a while. Like, especially if once it starts getting like 5 and below, it starts to affect my workouts. No problem, Josh. Just come up when you're ready. We got you. So a lot of times it's like, I have to, and they say there's no such thing as sort of catching up on sleep. So again, a lot of times it has to be like a habit that's formed. But like I said, but even at my age, I still don't see any letdown in sleep. In fact, a lot of times midday. Now, how do you, or here's a question for you as far as culturally. Now, Greek people, are you guys like into taking naps during the day? Do you have, like in Europe, the siesta time? Does things shut down for a while? So yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Doesn't matter what line of work you're in or what you do, from I say between 2 and 3, I can remember what time it starts, to about 4, 5 o'clock, everything shuts down. You don't see anybody. It's like nighttime. Shh, you can't talk about snapping right now. And I usually hate doing that because I was a kid. I was energized. I was like, I want to go out. I want to play. I want to play, soccer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But nope, you have to go lay down. And how many times my grandma forced me to lay down?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wish I had that shit. I need a little nap between my meals. And once I'm done with lunch, so I start dinner. I need a nap time. I'm like, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't take me long to fall asleep. I hit the bed and I'm out in about 20 minutes.
20 minutes still? That's still a while. That's still a while. Like I said, sometimes it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to turn the brain off because again, you're concerned about what you're gonna do when you get up. And so there's a lot of times when you just, it takes you a while to decompress. Now, one thing that I've done in recent years is to add sound to my sleep. Now, for a lot of us who are old school, we may have grown up, especially in the summertime, if you didn't have central AC, you put the fan on, and the fan, that sound of the fan would knock you out. It was like just hearing that hum of the fan had a very therapeutic effect. In fact, I remember in college, I had a roommate, one of my best friends still to this day. We were both the same. We would put on the fan at the highest setting, and we'd be out in like 5 minutes. But if we didn't have that on, you could almost hear the heartbeat of the other person. So again, using some sort of sound nowadays, you have all kinds of relaxation sounds. You got white noise, brown noise, green noise, all these different frequencies of noise that you can use. Or sometimes you would use like a nature sound, the sound of wind or rainfall. But now Eric is saying that cicadas are very calming. I totally disagree with that. I cannot stand cicadas at all. When they all kind of go in that choir harmony together, it is unsettling for me. So I've never gotten used to.
Bro,
I've never gotten used to cicadas at all. When they get crazy, I know one year it was like I couldn't get any sleep at all because they would go on like every 10 minutes. They were going in unison and singing together.
Back in the day, I dated women that loved having TV on when they're falling asleep. I can't do that. I need nice and quiet to fall asleep. I'm like shit. I like that's too much for me. I try falling asleep to like a fireplace, for example, sound effect. And
fireplace. Yeah, the sound of
doing
fire.
It for me. This gets me up more actually.
Yeah,
nice, quiet, dark room. It knocks me right out. That's what does.
That's another thing. Having your room like totally dark. So again, not having any kind of lights on or the screen brightness from your phone shutting everything down. So I think people in general, like I said here, I can't. We're going to talk about sleep around the world again as we go to this conversation. But I think people are starting. I know I did starting a few years ago. Again, take a much more active role in being more intentional about getting sleep, and that's still something I still work on. That's still one of those things that my goal. I say at least to get another hour of sleep, and the problem also with me is I'm a night owl. So I know Eric, he had said early in the chat that just drop it here. So I'm a writer. So if the characters talk to me at 0:00 morning, I get up for a writing session, then I go back to bed. So yeah, sometimes you get inspiration, especially if you're a creative. You may get inspiration at a certain time, and you just comply with it. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily wait until okay, I'll jot that later. And I know me, especially when I'm studying, or especially when I'm doing Bible study, like for Sunday school or something like that. A lot of times, I really don't get inspiration until like 2 a.m. Like there have been times where I said, you know what, I'm going to do everything early. I'm going to do it on Friday and Saturday. I'll be prepared for Sunday. I got nothing. But it's almost like in my mind, I kind of meet God at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. And I may stay up to like 3:30, sometimes 4 a.m, but I'm sort of in that space. I'm kind of dragging when I get to church at 9 o'clock. And then usually on Sundays, I usually, get a nap in. When I get back, that's usually the case. Like I said, last night was pretty extreme because of the daylight. We lost the daylight saving, so I was kind of dragging a little bit, but I'm able to sort of pull it together. But yeah, there are just certain times where I'm in the right headspace to do certain activities. So I can certainly understand Eric when he talks about writing. If you get that thing, and certainly we've all heard of writer's block where you just don't have nothing, but you got to work with what works for you. So if there's a certain time of the day or in the middle of the night where you get your inspiration, I think you just got to go with that. But to try to force it any other time, a lot of times, again, there's so much busyness in the mind that people are not able to catch up on the sleep that they need. But Greeks in general, like even what you see in America, are Greeks more sort of laid back when it comes to rest, like I said, naps, or just when go to bed, or it's kind of all over the place once you get here? Because I can understand it being a lot different in Greece than being in America.
I think it's all over the place here, to be honest with you, because it's not the culture. You know what I'm saying? And I know some who will still take naps, but they're rare. Life is too short to sleep it away.
So, see, that's the thing. Yeah, but see, that's a problem. I think with us, we talk about. Shout out to Edaman Williams. Thanks for dropping in tonight, brother. Good to have you on. Like I said, this is our open line show, so certainly you can see the link in the chat if you want to cam up and chat with us for a minute. You're more than welcome to come up. But thank you, appreciate you dropping in here tonight. But to me, that's a mindset that we talk about. That, like I said, what Arnold would say earlier, if you're getting more than 4 or 5 hours of sleep, you're lazy. Where if the science is saying 7 hours or 8 or whatever that sweet spot is for your long-term health and longevity is something that is important. Or if you are getting that kind of sleep, then like Edaman is saying, get those naps in. Find a spot in the afternoon, get an hour nap. I mean, sometimes even at work, if I'm really dragging, especially after lunch, I get the itis from the lunch that I had. Sometimes I'll go to my car and I'll get a power 20 in. I to try to get something in. But I think there's always extremes, right? So there's always this idea of you don't want to be lazy, but at the same time, you have to value all these things important. Just like diet is important, sleep is important, relaxation. These things all have a place. And when you don't get enough, I know people who their mantra is, look, I can sleep when I'm dead. That's like their life code. That's like their mantra that they say to themselves. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of sleep when I'm dead. But in the long run, are you really affecting your health when you don't give the body what it needs in order to function at its best? Are you always working sort of at half strength because you're not giving yourself the proper rest that you need? So yeah, shout out to Kasim being here tonight. Naps are good for you. The body is always looking for time to recover and repair. Yeah, that's important. But in this culture that we're in, it's such this go, 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 go all the time. We don't take time to pause. We don't take time to meditate. We don't take time to really process like what we're doing. We're just like hamsters on the treadmill. We're going all the time. And so, but I'd be curious from the chat, for those who are joining us tonight, on average, how much sleep are you getting a night? How long does it take you to get to sleep? When you wake up, do you get up right away, or do you got to hit that snooze 3, 4, and 5 times before you get up? And even once you get up, do you feel rested from that that sleep experience? Are you getting good quality sleep? Not just the fact that you're in bed, but is your sleep quality? How would you rate it? Is that something that you think you need to improve? And that just also goes into another thing I want to talk about regarding this is what are people sleeping on, right? Mattress quality. Now, again, I am a classic side sleeper, right? If I sleep on my back, I get something with, I don't breathe as well when I'm laying on my back, or my stomach for that matter. I'll be on my stomach for a massage or something like that, but generally I'm not. I think I might have used to be a stomach sleeper back in the day, but now I'm a classic side sleeper. So mattress is important. If the mattress is too firm, then I wake up with hip problems. I wake up with shoulder problems. That's why a lot of times, even when we're on vacation, I don't get my best sleep on vacation, because I don't know if you ever noticed, if you ever stayed in a hotel, a lot of these mattresses are super firm. And so I'm waking up like this. So I sleep on my side. I'm waking up like this because I got a cramp in my shoulder, because again, it's like I might as well sleep on the floor, which back in the day I used to be able to do because I was a much lighter guy. I was like 140 pounds in college. So I would sleep, you're hanging out at a guy's dorm or whatever. You sleep on the floor. He gave you a blanket. I woke up, no problem. Now I got all this muscle. I'm almost 240 pounds right now. So yeah. So I mean, the heavier you are, it also can affect your sleep quality. But certainly for those in the chat, shout out to Marcus who's dropping in for us tonight. Appreciate you being here. But yeah, how much sleep are you guys getting a night? How would you rate the quality of your sleep? What type of sleeper are you? Are you a slide sleeper? You sleep on your back, you sleep on your stomach, or what have you? And like I said, just over the years, I've just changed just overall, just being much more intentional about prioritizing my sleep quality. So what about you, Pete? I mean, what do you like to sleep on? What type of bed? Do you need a firm mattress? You want something like a memory foam or something like that? What are you sleeping on?
I currently have there's a regular old school pillow mattress, not too firm, not too soft, right in the middle. But I agree with you. I hate going to hotels or when I travel because I don't get not sleep. Like I get lucky when I go visit CQ because his bed, the guest room I sleep in, is right in the middle. Like, oh, this is actually not bad. I get breathing, but it's also the factor. I always say it's not your bed, so you feel different. You feel weird when you sleep in it. You know what I'm saying? When you wake up, you don't have a full, a full night's sleep. I get a decent sleep when I go there, but even in hotels, like I hate sleeping in hotels because I wake up all, sore actually.
Well, especially once you made the move, like I said, we got a memory foam mattress about almost 4 years ago. Now we replaced, and again, I know this is now, again, this could be marketing or sales or whatever, but they say you need to replace your mattress like every 5 years or 7 years or something like that. I don't know. We had our first mattress for the first 25 years. Okay. We never changed. I think the only thing we did was we put a sleep topper, like a memory foam, like a 3-inch memory foam topper on it. And that was our bed for a while. But once it became more obvious that I needed to sleep a bit more, again, I became a lot more intentional about that. But we're gonna revisit the sleep topic a little bit later. We have our first guest in the building tonight. We have Joshua Jones, who is up in the AM tonight. So, Josh, first of all, good to have you on once again on the show. How are you doing, sir? And what's on your mind?
I'm good. What's the obsession with sleep?
I don't know if it's obsession. I just think it's what we need long term. I think we've gone so far to the other side where it's like, yeah, I mean, we were told growing up 7-8 hours is normal sleep time, and then it's like here it's like, okay, you don't need more than 3 hours of sleep, you only need more than 4 hours of sleep a night, and that just seems to be driving people. I think it is affecting people long term. But what's your view on sleep?
Could it be the case that different people with different lifestyles have different sleep habits, and they're all bringing to the table their own idea of what is supposed to be standard or common? It's the same concept with how you sleep. Go to Asia, they sleep on freaking like bamboo mattresses that are like this thin. You go to the West, you go to Europe, everybody's just obsessed with comfort. Whereas I guess in the East, to me, it seems like it's miserable. You catch me sleeping on a tile floor and I'm going to die. But they apparently seem to like it because it's got like a cooler climate, because apparently it's hot as hell here. But it seems to me that everybody's kind of vested interest in prescribing their lifestyle onto other people. It just seems a little strange to me because we don't want everybody to be equal. We don't want everybody to have the same lifestyle. We need people out digging ditches just as much as you need doctors in there fixing people that are dying of diseases.
Right.
So why are we trying to put everybody in the same environment?
Well, I think that, like with anything, I think there's a case to be made for, again, what is optimal for most. Again, there's different, as you said, obviously there's different lifestyles and different needs as a result. If I'm an athlete, for example, that is lifting weights, I'm training, I'm doing certain things, whatever. If I want to be at my best for whatever task I'm doing, then that may require that I need more. I need more. I need more sleep. If I have a more sedentary lifestyle, maybe I don't need as much. So I agree that there has to be levels, but I think for a lot of people, like I said, what Pete was saying earlier, is like, my thing is, for the sleep that you're getting, and I hear this from a lot more people, do you feel rested when you get up? Are you working at your best in terms of, being able to function if you're in a creative space? Is what you're getting optimal, I guess, for you? But are there some general rules when it comes to the quality? And I certainly agree. In fact, that's what I was going to share later, because you are correct about certain Asia, they sleep on very hard surfaces, flat surfaces or whatnot. And again, a lot of us, we get the $3,000 purple mattress or whatever. So again, there's ranges around the world. And to be fair, certainly shout out to Kasim. He said he worked in the mattress industry. There is an industry that sometimes tries to sell you on, what is ideal, so there's certainly a marketing aspect there. So in certain aspects, I would agree with you. But when I ask people generally, are they getting enough? I say, I know sometimes I don't get enough, and I know I need to, but again, there's a sweet spot for me. If I get too much, then it messes me up for the rest of the day. I kind of have this fog that develops over me as well. But some people, yeah. Go ahead.
Let me ask this. Take your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what you do for work, but
mm-hmm. I'm an IT, so I look at computer screens all day.
Oh God, that's gonna be problematic in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes have to. So is every day the same?
Relatively, yes. The only time it's really not the same is on the weekends. But yeah, I mean, certainly, especially when the kids were younger, everything is kind of like on a schedule here. You knew what you were doing on, during the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were kind of on a routine for a while.
What I'm asking is like, if Monday through Friday it is the case that you're like, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning, you hit in the computer, you're stuck in front of it till 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Bear in mind, like, an hour for lunch or whatever. Versus on the weekends when you're kind of like having to basically push a damn lawnmower, run a weed eater, right? Like you're a lot more physically involved with whatever you're doing with, or running logs, splitting wood, whatever the hell guys do like on the weekends or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that it would be kind of odd to think that since your schedule, your lifestyle seems to change from time period to time period, that you're going to get a routine out of it other than whatever little pattern you can kind of recognize.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea would be that, I guess, if you're trying to push optimization, right, you would also end up changing your environment, say on the weekends. You kind of could also mess yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to kind of work against you to give a prescription as to what might be standard.
Right.
Just to be fair, right? You're a husband. You don't get a damn routine. There is
right.
I imagine maybe it's the same for moms, right? But kids going to have bad days. You might have to go, even if they're grown, you might end up having to go over to their house to help them with a transmission, do all kinds of weird stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be prepared for this.
Mm-hmm.
So like the idea of this routine concept or expecting it's good to have it, but to expect it is the problem. So it's the same thing with the sleep patterns. Mm-hmm. Why would you basically lay down a prescription for something where we don't live in a very stable environment? Stuff happens all the damn time.
Right.
You just got to go with it.
Right. But do you believe that, let's just say, whatever your pattern is or whatever your lifestyle is, if you get off it for any length of time, do you think it has a negative impact on performance? And are there extremes where everyone has a different lifestyle, but do you think there's
everything has pros and cons to it? Take your pick.
Mm-hmm.
The question really is going to boil down to, are the pros what do you deal with? Would you rather deal with the pros or the cons? But everything's going to have pros and cons to it.
Right.
So all you're trying to do is
there. Like you consider my line of work, mine's very physical, so I need a little more sleep versus who's, no offense, you're behind a keyboard all day long. The hardest thing, you get a paper cut. That's the hardest thing for you. Like when you're going back and forth.
I get digit fatigue. Like
you got carpal tunnel syndrome.
Too much anymore.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
You got your first one, Paul. Happy?
There you go.
But my job is like very aligned. I drive 40 minutes. I know 40 minutes. I know you drive pretty far too for work. You gotta consider. I actually add that to my work day because that is part of work too. If you think about it, and like I don't really work 8 hours. I work 9, 10 because drive there and drive back is
the commuting time. Yeah, I got about a couple hours of commuting time a day, so that I factor that in. But Josh, you've spent some time in different countries around the world in Asia. I think your wife is also from Asia, I believe.
Yeah, she's Vietnamese. Yeah.
Okay, so how is it over there from what you've been able to see since you've seen different sleep patterns?
It's more closer to Spain, but their sleep revolves around the climate. So like a hotter day. So that this is what they had. They nap during the day. Like even adults, they'd be working in an office and they would be napping in the middle of the day. It's usually like an hour. So it's an hour nap time and then an hour for lunch. It extends out the length of their day. So like instead of getting off like normally at 5 o'clock, you're getting off at 7 o'clock in the afternoon. But that's because you got like that 2-hour lunch break that's in there. But it's also hot as hell during the middle of the day. Nobody wants to do anything. It just like sucks the life out of you. And thus they're just accustomed to it. Or they've been doing it for so long that it just became a tradition and they're kind of stuck in it.
Right.
The pro is you get to sleep during the hottest part of the day. The con is it extends your work day out. So now you have less family time. Take your pick. Which one do you want? Like which one do you want to deal with?
Right. And the point that you were making earlier, I think certainly the climate, and the environment has a lot to do with, with the sleep demands. And again, but still, I think the goal is, again, what is going to give you, I guess, the most out of your day. Like you said, working in the hottest point of the day, it may suck a lot of energy out of you. Then therefore, you're not going to be necessarily as productive to do things if you was to say work through that time. But like you said, the trade-off is going to be you may get less family time at night, but from a productivity, and I guess every culture or society is going to weigh what they deem as productivity a little bit different. But in this case here, it's like the environment plays a factor in what they deem productivity.
Why would people think that they have say in it? Like me. In whatever industry I'm dealing with, why would I think that I have say in what that industry does?
What do you mean say? Explain.
Okay. Let's say I work in an office. Actually, I am a pencil pusher. But let's say I mostly deal with pencil pushing, right? Do I go to work and tell them, hey, look, it's more efficient that we don't take naps during the day? Like that's a big no-no. But what if I were to go to the office and say, hey, look, boss, right? Like, we need to start taking naps during the middle of the day, just like the Asians do. Like, who would I be to think that I have some type of, like, what's more efficient for me? Maybe the boss doesn't want to. Wouldn't it be the industry? Wouldn't it be the industry that dictates like what you can and can't do? Or at least as a capitalist, wouldn't it be the money that?
In a way, you're right, because they're not going to listen. If you're taking nap time during the workday, they're thinking about how much money they're losing at the time. Nothing is going. It's not bringing income in. So how that benefits the company? It is not.
Yeah, the priority of me and the priority of the business, different things, different interests. So I have to ask, like, why should anybody care what I think is optimal?
You could certainly look at it that way, but I think companies these days, I think they do look at that. I mean, so again, you look at Europe, you talked about, they have their siestas and whatnot. Why do you think those things are there? Do you think it's just built so much into the culture that people just don't want to change that? Do you think there's an efficiency? Because I know people have done sleep studies and what works. And again, if you're a company, I'm worried about productivity. I mean, I would think that in productivity also affecting my profitability. So
I think here, I think there are more poor farmer class people than there are going to be like middle class office workers. So it's going to be either like poor farmers or poor factory workers. And I really don't think that they want to change the status quo simply because it's more economically in their best interest to look at productivity in the idea of spitting out units, the number of units in a day. Communism is really good at spitting out huge populations of cheap labor. The last thing you want to do is give a damn what the population wants, right? You just want to spit out factory workers or rice farmers or whatever the heck they're doing at whatever part of the country they're in.
Right. But they also look at those assets, if you will, if you just want to deal with it in capitalist, terms, assets that are expendable and therefore replaceable. So again, if you work somebody to death, you just replace them with somebody else.
They'll breed, repopulate.
Yeah. So again, it's obviously it's a different mindset than I guess in Western countries or capitalistic countries or what have you. It's a
here. The only thing that I could probably grant you is it seems to be the case that they have a problem with motivating workers. So it's kind of a little problem as to somebody's eventually going to sit down at the table and ask why. Why do I have to work till 7 o'clock, right? Why can't I become a little bit more efficient, get more home time, right? You might have an idea of stopping the nap time during the day to be able to shorten the work time period, but I don't know. I that might work for office workers, like people that work at banks. Probably won't work so much for the farmers. But again, this is a separation in industries, right?
It is for sure.
And so I don't know, I don't know how to answer that question, and I don't know what would or could not work.
Right.
I'm also kind of usually a little finicky about screwing around with traditions. I generally don't like the idea that traditions are messed with too much.
Right. And for you personally, since you have lived in different countries around the world and worked there, have you simply just adapted? Did you find it difficult to?
God, no. I just noticed they do something different. I don't adopt their ways. That's probably the only way I can stay sane around here.
Right.
I mean, I don't sit back and judge it.
No. Obviously.
The difference between participating it and judging it, right? I obviously judge it in a way, in economical terms, but wanting to change it, probably not so much. Wanting to participate in it, definitely not so much.
So you're saying you would not want to participate in it, or you'd rather stay where? And where are you?
I don't even have the same mindset. It wasn't. Right. It's not my idea to go work for a company for 40 hours a week, right? That would not be my goal in life. So, I wouldn't want to participate with their system because that is not my goal in life.
Gotcha. So just you personally, when it comes, if you don't mind sharing your sleep patterns or habits, are you get 4 or 5? What works for you?
Some days I might not get to bed till 2 o'clock in the morning. Some days I might get to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning. Some days I go to bed, 9 o'clock at night, right? And I wake up whenever. I don't get the luxury of a routine. And I don't think I'm actually in a position where I could actually. I think if I tried to set a routine, I would end up losing business in other ventures, right? Because if I'm here, I'm 12-hour time difference than New York, right? And I still have businesses in New York. It's kind of a problem because sometimes I just have to be awake here to be able to communicate and deal with stuff, back stateside. Just is what it is. You do what you got to do.
Right. And because of that, you don't find any sort of lag in your
yes, there's lags, there's uncomfortability, there's irritability, right? I smoke a pack a dadgum day, right? There's things I have to do to stay sane. Otherwise, well, I'm going to prison. Somebody gonna die. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, over there, is that common to be smokers over there?
Yeah, I think raging alcoholics is the thing here. I think they use that for pain management. Smoking, yes, but it's weird. So like the idea if you had free time you would smoke you could probably set your clock by how people smoke. But
Mhm.
here not so much, right? Like they might smoke a little bit more during the day when they have free time. They're less likely to actually walk away from say like where they have to stand in a factory or having to like leave the office to go outside and smoke kind of thing.
Right.
It's a really not so routine, and I thought that was kind of weird because I don't know how to adjust for that.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know how to pick that habit up, which would be a habit I would pick up if I knew how.
Right.
So it's just
Right.
it's the routine is what it is.
A
Yeah.
reason I'm asking because back in Greece, my home country is like people used to smoke right in the office. Like there, every office building, it was not no such thing as smoking free building. You smoke right in the office. I seen doctors literally have a smoke room in the hospitals. Smoking is very common now. They're trying to crack down a little bit, but not major.
They do like I've never seen in a bank, right? But I don't know what happens upstairs in their like their little cubby hole, but down where the customers are, it's usually not the case. But it is the case that you just walk right out the front door, right? There's no like concept of no smoking. Like at an airport, right? You can't smoke within so many feet of an airport. Same thing with a school kind of thing. Here, not that way. As soon as you hit that door, everything's technically a smoke-free zone. Or I mean, like you can smoke wherever the hell you want to. Nobody particularly cares. But like inside the door, maybe not so much.
Gotcha.
That's the opposite in Greece. Anywhere you go, you can smoke pretty much. Like I was, don't smoke in schools because of the kids and stuff like that.
Right.
When you like right outside the door, you can smoke.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That would be here.
I've been into police stations in Greece. The cops is taking a report and smoking it as he's doing it right in a cigarette in his hand the whole time. That's very common.
I've seen police stations here. I've seen them smoke inside of those, but they're cops, right? Like, what are they going to do? Write themselves a ticket? I don't know. To me, it seems more like it's based off the functionality. You know, there probably is. There's sound ordinance laws here, right? But I've never seen them enforced. Matter of fact, I'm stuck having to deal with it. So it could be the case that there's smoking regulations here, but again, I've never seen much of. I don't know how stuff gets enforced. Like maybe at best, if you have money, they might write you a ticket kind of thing. But it's not because they're trying to enforce the smoking thing. It's because that's how they get money.
Gotcha.
So it's more like you're asking the question based off the concept of is there a rhyme or reason based off of a standard? And I'd say no, other than the standard is getting the money kind of concept.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more along that kind of area. Maybe other parts of Asia is a little bit different. Southeast Asia, no standards. Not in anything that you can.
Like I give you a great example. Out of 10 Greeks, 9 will smoke.
Well, the Greeks smoke, or at least so from what I can tell, the Turks and the Greeks definitely like to smoke, right? But the concept then becomes down to is where it takes place, right? But Greece is also pretty big on like laws, regulations, orders, things like that, right? Southeast Asia, yeah, they create the laws, right? But when it comes down to enforcement, most people just don't mess with it. It's just not really like the mechanism there for enforcement doesn't function so well. So they're less inclined with enforcing the order, right, as they are for using it as a methodology for collecting revenue, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely I mean, it's definitely it's part of the culture, and you're gonna have a difficult time, certainly undoing a lot of that. But appreciate you coming up. Any other topics? Anything on your mind? I know you're always. Again, we appreciate you following the show. We appreciate when you comment on anything that we talked about, anything from the past or anything that's on your mind.
There was, but I forgot. Like you guys,
you've done this to us before. So again, you're gonna have to get a note when you follow the Gray Area Show. Get a notepad since you are a pencil pusher. Get the pen and pad, write some stuff down, and be like, okay, the next time they have an open show, you go to the pad and boom, you bring it up. So this is the second time you've done this to us.
Oh, okay. So relationships.
Yes.
I thought you guys had like a. Okay, so you're asking him a lot about like like what dating is outside the culture. I have to ask that question: is why would somebody in a Western culture consider or be interested in dating outside the culture?
You're asking why people would be considered being outside. From what I've been hearing since I've been in these YouTube streets, especially in America, there are a lot of men. I'll just talk about the men. There are a lot of men who are of the mind that the availability of women who fit their standards of what they want in a wife or a partner is not here. And so the mindset is, if I can't find it here, I'll go somewhere else. So like where you are, for example, I've heard many guys talk about, oh, well, I'll go to Thailand, or I'm sorry, Thailand. Is it Thailand?
No, I'm in Vietnam, but it's all the same.
Well,
it's all the same crap here.
Thailand, Philippines, whatever. They're getting their passports, and they're looking for a certain type of woman, a certain type of mindset. So they think that, if they can't get it where they're at, they'll go elsewhere around the world to get it. And so a lot of guys, they call them the passport bros and, other titles that they've adopted for themselves.
Do you think those passport bros are being 100% honest with the situation? Divorce rate's pretty damn high among the passport bros too, right? Because they'll kind of get trapped here.
And I don't see a lot of results. That's the thing that I've seen also. It's like, it's okay. If you were the type of guy, okay, I left America, went here, found a wife, boom, happy after, see, look at us. I haven't seen that either. I've seen it promoted, but I haven't seen necessarily the receipts of your efforts, all that work that you're putting in, all the time you're putting in the trials. Nothing wrong with trials. Yeah, you should travel anyway if you can. See the world and what's in it, but I haven't seen the benefits of that. But I do hear a lot of guys here. That seems to be the reason. They just say, "Look, it's not. If it ain't here, I'm going somewhere else." That seems to be the move.
I have a slightly different pushback on the passport bros, even though I'm technically considered one, right? So the idea here is that you can go to another country, basically get a wife, right? Whether you decide to live there or bring her back stateside. The problem that I have with this is this reputation has more an effect on the retirees. If anybody has the biggest, or I would say the most vested interest in pushing back on passport bros, would be to go after or would be the retirees to push back on them. The reason is because the moment that a country has this like reputation for, say, sex tourism, the government is now stuck in a position where they have to deal with it, and they nearly always change the visa regimes, which always ends up going after the retirees.
What regimes?
The visa regimes. Like, what it takes to live there. So like Vietnam, you're a U.S. citizen, you're pretty much screwed. You have to go every 30 days, I think, to get a visa. Philippines, it was 90 days. Now they bumped it down to 30 days because they're combating sex tourism, right? But now the retirees, they're the guys that have been sitting there living for like 10 years. And they did well, right? Like, they've got their house and everything, but the visa regimes keep constantly changing for them. How would you feel if you taken the last 10 years of your life to try to invest in like owning a home, having some type of stable life, and then a bunch of dudes are like, oh, let's go over here and get bitches. Sorry for the language, right? Like, get the women kind of thing, right? And now all of a sudden you, in your 60 plus years of age, now have to contend with a bunch of 25 30-year-olds that can't seem to apparently control their and basically blowing through women. And now because of their actions, it's now caused problems for the retirees. So who do you feel more empathy for? The guys that are out trying to look for spouses, or the guys that are just trying to enjoy their last 20 years of life?
Well, I think as the countries define these laws, like you said, they're constantly messing with the visas. It's almost like, it's to the earlier point that you said, as far as sleep, you as an individual, why do you matter? If they think that this sort of tourism, whether they want to say it publicly or not, if it brings dollars to their country by whatever means that it does, then who cares about, you being the retiree with your house or whatever? I mean, you're not going to necessarily be adding a lot of value to the economy. So why should you as an individual matter in that situation? If a country is known like Thailand, whatever, for sex tourism, and you're going to be bringing all these guys from all over the world who are going to be putting dollars into that system, at the end of the day, isn't it all about the money? At the end of the day, so you as a retiree, how do you matter, especially if you're going to be in the minority versus the guys who are coming in? At least, again, if I was going to be in my total, capitalist or just that kind of mindset, your individual liberties regarding that, if that's going to affect the bag, then forget about your liberties. Then I could kind of come with that coldness if I wanted to. Yeah, it's not going to be the haven that you thought it was going to be. You're going to be seeing stuff down the street that you may not like, but a lot of societies do function in those ways.
Okay, all right.
That's just I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. No. You're looking at it from the economical perspective. Yeah. I guess it works until it doesn't work anymore, right? And that's the problem, is it, right? Like it's the rules tend to change.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think the biggest I guess the group of people that should be pushing back on passport bros is going to be the retirees, because they're the ones that are threatened the most by it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And like anything else, if you got, if you have the means, you might go somewhere else. There's a lot of people in this country that they retired. Panama is becoming a retiree haven, from what I understand, for a lot of US people. As they move to Panama, it's cheap, it's beautiful down there, and there's a lot of benefit. Now we'll see if they, if Panama maintains the canal. I understand that there might be some interest in reclaiming the canal. I don't know how that's can affect the global things that could change that haven.
For the last 4 years, or maybe 6 years, the Central America has been more of a, I guess the travel direction, at least from the U.S. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Southeast Asia is actually major decline, and it's been that way for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It just is what it is. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know why anybody would come here looking for women. But now that brings up the other part of the relationships, right? Is like, if you think it's difficult to have a relationship within your own culture, right? Try having that learning curve to pick up and deal with somebody in a different culture. The Greek women, they play a whole different ball game than we do, right? I can't imagine having to relearn all of that just to go over there to get a couple dates, right? Like it's basically having to put in a lot more effort than what you would originally have to do, like say in the US kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn, plus you have to invest in travel, right? It's a lot more work.
Well,
and if you're not willing to do work here, what makes you think you're going to go over there and do the extra work that's involved?
I guess it's to the earlier point that you brought up earlier, pros and cons, right? Because I think for a lot of guys, the complaint that they get here, especially with American women generally, is lack of cooperation. So the idea is that, if I have to put in that kind of work, or if I have to put in, because you're still going to have to date here, you're still going to have to put in, you may not be traveling as much, but again, dates can add up. Especially now, how many times you've seen these videos? Oh, well, I'm too good to go to a diner for a date, or Olive Garden, or even Cheesecake Factory. I got to go to Del Frisco's, and you got to spend $300 on me or something. If the mindset is that you're spending money anyway, and you're not getting necessarily the results. For a lot of guys, they would rather spend that money in a place. Again, I'm just explaining the mindset here, or trying to. The idea is, if I'm going to put that time in to learn a new culture and all that, but if I get what at the end of the day is what I want, a cooperative, submissive woman, then they're making a calculus that it is worth it to do that, versus dealing in the United States with a woman who is cantankerous and always, is like, there's that constant struggle in the sexes and whatnot. So again, that may be what they're calculate. Now, again, are they going to win that one? I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen enough of the results from these guys going out to say, yeah, this seems to be a positive trend or not. I have no idea. I just hear what guys say.
I don't think they're being very honest in their advertisement. Here's an example. Let's say the concept of like submission and obedience, right? Like this is the gold standard that comes to like Americans when they're dating, right? And so take for example my wife, like Asians, they're supposed to stereotypically they're very passive, right? This is true during the dating phase. They're kind of like laid back, do whatever. We don't, you're not going to get much. You're really not going to get much pushback from her until the day you get married. And then Dragon Lady comes out of the closet.
Hold on. Wait a minute. You're messing with the marketing, man. You're giving the code. You're giving up the game here, man. You can't do that.
This is why I can't really understand like the Passport Bros idea of like, I guess if you're looking for submission, you do get it during the dating phase, which is why I consider it like sex tourism, right? The moment you get married, things change. And I do mean it's like a 180-degree direction, right? My old lady was passive as hell. She didn't care about nothing. Got married. Next day, all of a sudden, the house was her domain, how stuff was going to be. Oh my God, she instantly turned into her mother.
Now, is this the trend in Asia? Like for married people, are the women kind of the heads of the home, or they kind of guys are just
Yes. The woman comes home, boy, if she's got a problem, you're gonna get the hell out the house. It would be kind of like close to like America, right? Like
so men aren't the alphas. Hang on. So men aren't the alphas, men aren't the kings. Over there, at the end of the day, we know who wears the pants in the family over there. It is Asia. And
woman, right here.
We may, Pete, we're gonna get some blowback from this show, man. Josh is giving up here, man.
Because from everything that I ever known is the opposite of what I ever heard, except one person. My instructor, his mother was Chinese and his father was Japanese. Don't know how that happened. That's rare.
Oh, yeah, that's rare.
When she walked through the door, like the fucking devil of China walked in. And you see her face. I'm like, oh, boy, she's in a bad fucking mood. Her father, sweetest guy ever. His father, sweetest guy ever. You can bullshit, have coffee with him, whatever. Her, oh, boy. And if she was teaching the class that day, oh, you're going to be in black and blues at the end of the day.
It would be the case that they wouldn't behave that way, like in front of your friends, right? Like if I had a bunch of dudes sitting around the house, right, and we're doing our thing, my wife's not going to show out, right? Like she's not going to be all pushy and bossy, right?
Right.
But the moment the door closes, right? Yeah, it's coming. And wow. maybe that's what it is, right? Like there's the public perception, like the public perception versus what really goes on behind closed doors. This is why I'm always asking, are they really are the people that are marketing or advertising the whole dating game kind of thing, are they really being honest? Because I haven't heard any honesty about visa regimes. I haven't heard much honesty about they'll talk the cost of living. Yes, it is the case. You can walk outside, hit a vendor up and dinner's $1, right? Like where you can't pull that off. What they don't tell you is all the extra costs for well, if you're here as a tourist, right, that's 30-day visa. That's, I guess if you do the e-visa, that's $45 a month. Plus you have to go up to the local police department and register, right? Like there's all of this extra. And sometimes they tend to charge a fee for that, right? Like you can't just go anywhere and do what you want. And it doesn't seem like they break down all of the individual costs that come to it, which in my mind eventually turns out to be the same thing as it would be of having to live back in the States. So I pay more for food, but I don't have to do all of the extra, all of the extra bureaucracy crap that I have to deal with here. Plus I got a lot more leverage is where I can live in the United States versus here where apparently I'm not allowed to live within 2 miles of a military base. But they don't give you a map of where that is. So you just go find a place, right? You decide you want to rent it. Then you have to go to your local police department and ask permission. So it's there's all of this extra crap. I think when they advertise and they don't advertise everything. There's a lot of problems that most people, I guess, it's the same thing with, I assume with dating outside the culture, right? There's
Right.
one thing to date, like say an American version of me, and another one, say like a Greek, right? I can't imagine what child raising would be like. I would just have to figure that out, right? And it ain't like, I don't think there's an instruction manual that tells you, right? Like you read through it like this. You have to learn it the hard way.
Right. Now, do you have children also, or you're?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Wow.
Little half commie. God,
well, again, thanks for sharing that. But I think that again, a voice like yours, who again you've lived and worked in different places, and you can certainly give those perspectives, and those are things obviously to think about. That but it's that frame of saying you're better off dancing with the devil you do know than the one that you don't. And I think even still, when it comes to relationships, I think shout out to Marcus. I think that at the end of the day, in this country, people are going to have to learn how to work some sort of deal out, because we're not going back. I don't think we're going back to the 1940s and 50s when you're going to have, woman with the apron on baking your cookies or whatever. But I just think that people need to form a way. How can we make this thing work? And I think that takes some humility, and I think that just takes some people just having some understanding that, look, we need to, we need to maybe do something a bit different. But at the end of the day, it's going to take the cooperation of both people. And one thing I've learned being married long time, and what I even tell people now, is that it's going to take some, it's going to take some give on both sides here. And I know my wife and I, we fashioned a something that works for us, and it may be unique to every relationship. I've seen all kinds of relationships. I see relationships now where the husband stays home. I had a former boss who was like, she was a VP of IT, so she was bringing in the bread. My man was home taking care of the cats and maintaining the house and cooking and stuff. A lot of American women that were there, my wife even, she was appalled by that. She was like, "Oh no!" I was kind of playing with it because I kind of know my wife. So, hey, would you be up for that deal if you were making tons of money or whatever? Would you let me stay? She looked at me. It's like absolutely.
I have that same option. My wife actually here, surprisingly, strangely enough, makes really good money considering the local economy and what that is. If it wasn't for my job, I could probably easily just quit my job, stay home, and it wouldn't really have like a major economical effect. It's just I can't quit my job, right? I have to leave the country if I do that.
Right.
Yeah. I've sat down and thought, if I could do it, would I? And I don't know. Maybe I would. Maybe I would, because I like hanging out with the kid. Well, on days he behaves, right? Like it's just kind of is what it is. But I think if given that opportunity, I might actually consider it. Like I think I would do it. I'd probably go crazy. I wouldn't know that until I try it, though. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we just all trying to feel our way in doing whatever it is we think we might be able to get away with doing.
Yeah. I just think people just need to, I think humility. Everybody wants.
Yeah.
But just like in anything else, it's all transactional at the end of the day. We don't like to say that or hear that, but it's like, look, this is who I am. This is who you are. How can we make this work? It's like no deal in business or anything else. Nobody gets 100% of what they want. Can you form a deal that you can live with?
And that is one of the issues, Paul. Like people want this old school apron, and a lot of men want that back. And unfortunately, that's never going to happen again. We're so far from that. It's not even funny. Like, you're not going to have your wife staying home, wear an apron, take the kids to school, cooking and baking, cleaning the house, all that stuff. Those days are done.
Yeah, he's talking about going from to say like that the house husband. I see that with like a lot of retirees. People go crazy as soon as they retire. For months, they're just losing their mind.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? One other question about the relationship conversations. Do you think it is the case that we don't know how to communicate with each other anymore? Like if you look at,
think it's so much about a communicate. Honestly, I think we communicate too much. It's
Ooh,
like the communication thing has been blown up. So at the end of the day, you have to make a deal. Because
sure.
everybody can get up there. Shout out to CJ Wilkins. Shout out to Angry Snowman. Thanks for coming. Again, this is an open line tonight. So again, check the chat links. The link is in the chat. If you want to come up and be a part of the conversation tonight, we got about 30 minutes left in the show. So if you guys want to come up and chop it up with us in the time that we have left, you're more than welcome to come on. But again, open line show tonight. But I think that people have been communicating. The problem is twofold. One, you're not listening. And secondly, you don't want to make the changes necessary to make things happen. So, I mean, people always talk about communication. Yeah, I get it. It's a piece, but it's not everything.
Well, I guess I assume
you're going to have to say yes to something.
Yeah, I assume the listening part was part of communication, but I guess
maybe I should have said it differently. Yeah, too much talking. Everyone's talking, but no one's listening. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? We going to do something or not? And if you are, then what's going to be what are the terms? Can you work out the terms? Question for the panel: what benefits do men gain from women in modern marriage that aren't accessible pre-marriage? All right, so Josh, I'd like certainly your opinion on that. What do you think of CJ's question? Again, thank you for being part of the
I'm a big fan of generational wealth. I came from it. I'm definitely trying to not screw it up. So without a woman, generational wealth wouldn't even be a possibility. You might as well just throw it off the table. It doesn't exist then.
Right. Yeah. I think certainly that so for when it says modern marriage, I guess I'm kind of struggling with the question a little bit. I think marriage has always been marriage. I mean, Anton said earlier that things are becoming more transactional. If you really look at it, marriage has always been transactional, right?
Yeah.
Thousands of years ago, marriage was like the married people weren't even the important ones. Marriages, you bond tribes, kingdoms. It was about alliances, and people who got married. You were kind of part of the, just a piece in the puzzle. You just sealed the deal, but nobody cared about, I love this woman so much, or I love this man so much, and I want to be with them so much, or whatever. It's like a lot of that stuff didn't matter. So I think for most part, marriages have always had this sort of transactional component to it. But I think we kind of got this romanticism. I think when it comes to marriages, I think it's certainly clouded people's view on what marriage is or what it historically has been. And so I think that's part of the confusion. People talk about I gotta have these certain feelings. I gotta have this love thing, and it's got to be the right person. I don't know if I said to my wife today, I don't know if she's the right person, but she was the person that gave me the best deal. I'll just say that much. But was I saying, did I hear a voice from above said, yes, she's the one, you need to marry her? I don't think that was there. But we wanted to be together, and we did what was necessary to make a good thing happen. So I think there's always going to be a transactional aspect when it comes to marriage. But I think we lost our way a little bit with that, where again, people kind of knew their roles, they knew their assignments. And again, those roles can change over time as society changes, but you still got to form a team. Why is it that sports teams, baseball teams, football teams, everybody knows their role, and nobody bats an eye? Teams that do have problems is when they forget about their role. When the quarterback is fighting with the wide receiver, and the guy's like, "Look, you want to be the quarterback of this team?" That's when you have problems. But it seems like it works in other types of relationships. But somehow when it comes to our personal relationships, it's like we're wanting something that really isn't there. What do you think about that, Pete?
That's a hard one, because things have changed so much over the years that we're not what people want us to go to, if that makes sense. Does it? If you find the person unique for yourself who can deal with your pain in the ass, that's all you need. Because I know I'm not fucking perfect. I got my old stubborn ways in life, and I'm not. Some things I'm willing to change, some things I'm not. But is she the one who will be able to deal with my stupid issues? Like, for example, freaking maybe my desk is always a mess, or whatever. Yeah, communication is great, but you're gonna find the middle ground with her because you married her. And then, do you really want to? It's always compromises, give and take. What are you willing to give, and what are you going to take?
And then stay consistent with the deal that you made. And if the terms, just like anything else, if the terms of the deal come to a point where things need to be altered, then again you go back to the table. So I'm not saying it has to stay the same all the time, because again, it has roles change, careers change. You got no kids, now you got kids, now the kids are grown. Now I think there's a time we talked about that, Pete, on one of your Thursday shows.
Mm-hmm.
That at different points in your relationship, I think it is smart to kind of revisit the relationship. Where are we? Where are we going? Do we need to make a pivot? Just like a sports team, even if you won the championship, the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Don't remind me.
They still have to restaff. They still there's a draft coming up. They got free agents they got to sign. Guys want to go elsewhere for more money. Everybody has to kind of reevaluate the situation. And what are we going to be doing for the next year?
I strongly agree with the consistency part, but I don't know. To me, that seems like that's what women want, is stability, and men, well, I'm pretty sure we crave it, right? Because you'd like to know the problems that are coming so you can prepare for them. Stability is that thing, right? Like you don't want dip problems that you don't know are showing up. So I don't know. That one sounds like, God, in my mind, that's probably a big goal that I would try to get to, is make that as consistent as possible.
Yeah. It's just easier. I mean, I know there's a lot of free spirits out there who just want to kind of live life day to day or whatnot, but
I don't even know what the hell that is.
In today's world, I'm saying people who crave it, but I'm just saying the way the society works. I mean, you better be consistent in terms of your actions and your behaviors, or a lot of times you get steamrolled. If you don't think now in your youth, you think your youth is buying you time. But I know a lot of guys, they're in their 40s and their 50s now, don't have stuff together, and it's almost like you almost see the steamroller coming. I mean, it's like, because you haven't built anything, you haven't had a consistency about you. You just took it as it came, but now it's in a different space. Shout out to CJ, thank you for the $2 super chat. Family court is a great deterrent of marrying men. Yeah, it certainly can be. But even then, you're talking about when you have kids, and one thing I've always made a distinction, and in fact, talked about this I think on Pete show last week. I've always made a distinction between getting married and having a family. Those are two totally different things, and I don't believe it. Certainly in today's time, and we actually did a show on this some time back. People are opting out of having children. They want to be married, and they want to travel together and do stuff. Their parents, their parents are fur babies, but it's not a given anymore that, okay, I get married and I have children. Some people just want to live their lives together childless. And so again, family court can be an issue if kids are around, but in too many cases, family court is coming up because you're not even married when you had your kids. You're dealing with a lot of paternity stuff when you didn't necessarily do things in an order that I would think helps the. But if you got 3 kids by 3 different women and you're in court all the time, that's on you.
But Paul, look at King. He thought his father was his father for all these years, and he asked and asked and asked, and it finally came out of accident. Actually, they did a DNA test. Him and his brother. All of a sudden, oh, we don't have the same father, and his mom was like, oh well. That's the other problem now.
Damn. I think I think if you're the type of person that you're sitting down and you're asking the question as to like, what benefit do I get out of marriage? I think if you even ask that question, you shouldn't get married. Like, you really should not. I'm definitely pro-marriage. I'm definitely pro-marriage. I don't believe marriage is for more than about 35% of the population.
Yeah,
there's a reason why. There's a reason why we're like the good vast majority of us that are even getting married or failing at it. I do think that idea is if you're asking like, what does the other person bring to the table? If you're asking like, what are the benefits of marriage? I honestly think you should not be married. You're just not in that mindset. Like you're not even in that direction. Come back later when you figured something else out. I just don't. I don't see marriage. I can't figure out. I come home every day. I'm not thinking about what is my wife gonna do for me today, right? Like I'm thinking about crap. Like what kind of problems did the kid get into? What crap do I have to deal with? Right? I'm just thinking about all of the extra duties and functions that came along with the day because something went wrong. Right? I'm not even remotely in my head where I'm thinking about me. I thought about me when I decided to go to work. That was my break. Like that was my vacation from it, right? It just is what it is. I don't think marriage has anything to do, at least from a guy's perspective. I don't think it has anything to do with me. And it's never even crossed my mind that direction.
Yeah.
So
I
think there's
want to revisit CJ's point. So he wanting to know the pros and cons mean you shouldn't do it. No, I'm not saying that. I certainly wouldn't. I'm very much pro marriage as well. I mean, but I think it's going to be different for different people. Why? For me, as I've said earlier, one, I was committed to celibacy before marriage, so I wasn't going to have sex outside of that. So if I wanted sex, I needed a wife. So that was my first priority. All right. But then obviously companionship, having someone to build a family with. I mean, proud to raise 3 daughters. I'm economically in a much better place than I would have been had I not been married. And also the man that I've matured into. Marriage in a lot of ways grew me. It made me grow up in a lot of ways to be much more mature and making sure that my decisions were sound versus if I was only making decisions for myself. So in a lot of ways, it matured me as a person. And same thing with my wife also. We're much better people because we're married than not. But at the same time, the caveat to that is, again, are you with the right person you can do that with? And I'm certainly far aware that the wrong person, everything can go totally haywire when you're not with a person who, at least if you're not the same, at least you made the decision that you want to row your boat in the relatively same direction. So I would say, yes, marriage has been certainly a plus and a multiplier in my life. But again, but I think it certainly is the best environment to raise children in. Personally, I believe that. When the kids grow up in a stable environment where they're not worrying about, am I going to see mom on Wednesdays and Thursdays and dad on Fridays, or who's going to be in the room, or whatever, that kind of situation. I think is the those things you have to factor in. And so I would certainly be definitely approval of marriage for that reason. But we have another guest that is joining us tonight. Welcome to the show for the first time, the Angry Snowman, aka Talcum X. Is good, sir.
Haven't seen his face around in a long time.
I know. What is going on, sir? How are you?
What's up, fellas? What's up?
Hey, man. Things are good, man. How you been?
Not too bad, man. I can't complain. You know what I'm saying? Living this house husband life.
There you go. Now, some women going to be upset with you. They said, look.
They can be upset all they want.
You're supposed to go out there and work, and you're supposed to be the provider. Yeah, so it is not acceptable, sir, for you to be home on the couch when you need to be out there doing something.
That's all well and good until you break your back.
Yeah, I want to hear about that for real. But it's good to have you on, man. But what's on your mind?
No, I'll be honest with you. I was sitting here listening to you guys, and you guys have obviously been talking about marriage. And honestly, I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make today when they decide to get married is you have 2 already very well established individuals who are established, have already went out and got the bag, have went out and created a life and a lifestyle for themselves. And now you got two established people that are trying to come together that have already created something, trying to decide who's going to get rid of what shit.
Yeah.
And I've personally found that when you build something together with someone, people that have start out with nothing and build a legacy together, their marriage tends to last a lot longer.
Yeah.
And they tend to actually appreciate their marriage a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that too. I've said on many occasions, the longest marriages that I know of were the cheapest. So again, you weren't paying $25,000-$50,000 on a wedding, and they kind of started at the bottom. Now we here. But when you come into it with assets, it's harder to try to do that merging because you don't have to.
When me and my wife got together, everything we had fit in a little, probably 10 by 10 bedroom.
Wow.
Everything. And now we have, a 5-bedroom, 2-story farmhouse that's full of shit 13 years later.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And to be honest with you, you learn a lot about each other when you have nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You really do. Rather than having expectations, you really tend to learn a lot, and you learn a lot about the person you're with, because I've always been a firm believer that dating and marriage are two entirely different things too.
Indeed.
A lot of people treat dating like it's being married, and it's nothing of the such.
Yeah.
Dating is the period that you're supposed to spend, finding out if this person is the person right for marriage.
Right.
Like me, I've always personally wholly expected while I was dating someone for there to be cheating, because that's the whole point of dating, to find out if you can trust the person, in my opinion.
Right.
So I've always expected it. Now, marriage, on the other hand, there's no, in my opinion, there's no excuse for cheating and stuff like that.
Right.
You've made oaths, not just to each other, but to your peers.
Yeah.
Your family, whatever God you believe in.
Right.
You've basically come out to your community and said, we're going to make this oath to, build something together with one another.
Yeah.
And don't we hold everyone else to task when they make an oath? Especially our elected officials, don't we hold them to task when they take an oath to the community, to the, to the country? Why don't we hold ourselves to that same task when we make an oath to the person that we decide we want to spend our life with?
Right.
He has a very good point. Because they're like military people. They make an oath to serve and protect and so on. Now, if they jump, or I'm not sure the military term when they run, from their service, they go right to jail for that. So we keep, politician, military, police, and so on a high standard. By why we're not keeping marriage to even higher standards?
Right. Right. I like what you said also, Angry Snowman, when you didn't have anything. I think a lot of times, because of the stuff that we have, I think a lot of times we don't prioritize what's most important. Like, my thing is weird. My wife and I, we were talking about sleeping earlier, and I'd like to get your input on that. But I was talking about we got to upgrade our mattress. So we had our first mattress for like almost 25 years before we got rid of it. So we got a new mattress, and it was one of those memory foams. So you got to put it on the floor. It's got to expand. You got to let it, kind of big. And we were also getting a new bedroom set that was being delivered. So we slept on the mattress. So it was on the floor. We're sleeping on the mattress. We hadn't done that since the first when we got married, because again, it was like the same situation. We were waiting for our furniture to come, so we slept on the floor for the first few months, and I just got real nostalgic about that. You know what? This is cool. Now, she wasn't loving it too much because she's like, look, my back's hurt. I need to, I like to kind of. It's harder to get up now since we're older, but I thought it was like the coolest thing. And I was like, look, I don't care if we had this luxury bedroom set or whatever. Just give me a mattress, and as long as I'm with you, I'm good.
When me and my wife,
we don't have a lot. I think that helps you to understand what's important and what's not, what you can survive on, and what you can't.
It reminds you where you came from and how far you've come from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm with you, dude. When look, my wife is directly responsible for me buying my first bed. Because prior to that, I either slept on a couch or an air mattress. When me and her first met, I was sleeping on an air mattress, dude.
Right.
Seriously,
Right.
not even playing,
Right.
dude. And then she got tired of sleeping on it because halfway through the night it ended up deflating, and we'd be laying on the floor anyhow.
Right.
She talked me up going up and getting my first bed, man, which was one of the most pimp beds ever on the planet, dude.
Was it a water bed? Was it?
No, it was a regular bed, dude, but it was all leather headboard and footboard on it.
Oh, nice.
And then it had armrests that came down with cup holders in the armrests on each
you.
side. Dude,
Nice.
then it had speakers in the headboard with a door that opened up that had mood lights in it. And then it had an iPod dock where you could plug an iPod into it and play music out of the headboard of the
Listen, I don't want any more details. I'm sure that bed was a very interesting place.
Dude, the only thing it didn't come with the only thing it didn't come with is a disco ball, dude. I swear to God.
Well, that's easy. You could just hang that from the ceiling. That's easy to get.
But that was a queen, Since then, I think like we had that for about 3 or 4 years, and then I upgraded to a king size bed because we ended up having kids, and you know how it is. There just ain't enough room in a queen for you, your wife, and then whenever the kid decide they want to climb in bed.
Right.
Because it happens, even if you don't, even if you're one of them parents that don't like that shit, it still happens from time to time. There's no getting around it.
Right.
It's going to happen, and be quite honest with you. I'm one of them guys that I don't like being cuddled at night. I get hot. You know what I'm saying? So the worst thing you do to me is try and roll over on me. So I try to get as much distance between me and my wife as possible in bed.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know. I sleep hot anyway for some reason. I get some nights I'm waking up and it's like I'm like sweating out. Yeah. So I like to be, kind of by myself a little bit as well. But speaking of sleep, do you find yourself, given your background, do you find yourself getting optimal sleep, or is that something that you still work on?
I haven't gotten optimal sleep in so long, dude. In so long, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of my sleep problems come from when we had that home invasion back when we were still living in Ohio. That was probably 8-9 years ago now. I still have that. After that happened, I ended up suffering. I've been suffering from insomnia from that for like going on 8-9 years now. I sleep for like 2-3 hours a night, and it's broken sleep.
Yeah,
but it's because I'm always pacing and walking and checking shit, and
so it's almost like you can't turn. I talked about it earlier. I think for a lot of people it's like they can't turn it off. You know what I mean, the mindset, what's going on, the stress.
I can't. You're right.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, Mr. Bennett. I think a lot of the failures of marriage too is I think that married couples they go and ask advice from other people and they share too much of their personal life, their private life with outside influences, and they don't talk to the person that they actually have the issue with enough and let them know that there is even an issue. And generally if they do let them know, it's when it's too late, and they think that their friends are going to try and help them, but their friends, that they aren't going to give you advice to help you. They're going to give you advice to put you right in the same spot they are, because misery loves company.
Yeah.
But
do you think that there's people who simply do not know how to have that conversation, or the tension with, you try to have a convo, but then it always escalates to an argument? So what do you say about those situations where people just don't have the ability to communicate, meaning both not only the speaking in terms of what to say, but also being in a position to listen? How would you advise in that situation where, we'd like to talk, but I just can't talk to her. I just can't talk to him. What would you say about that?
Well, I mean, there's several things that I would suggest. I mean, first is if you can't talk at first, walk away for a little while. Go to your, take a break from each other. Go out in the garage, let her do something. Calm down, then come back an hour later and see if you can discuss it again. If you keep having the same problems, then maybe you need to go talk to an outside source that's a professional and have them teach you guys how to communicate with each other. And if that don't work, then maybe you guys just aren't meant for each other. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the case. That's why I don't push marriage on people, because I agree with you and Josh when you guys said that only about 30% of people are you know, going to our marriage, marriage potential or marriage ready, marriage minded, that are actually going to try and have a successful marriage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's unfortunate too, because I think to Josh's point earlier about generational wealth, I think marriage has, helped a lot of people grow out of poverty. I mean, you see here, even with Latino communities here, marriage is still a big thing there. Communal living. I mean, they're not making as much when you look at the incomes between white Americans or black Americans or whatever. They're usually towards the bottom, but they're able to sustain and thrive because of how they live together and how they're able to form these relationships. So I think it can benefit a lot of people. But again, the mindset, the willingness, I think, needs to be there. Are you willing to do the things that is necessary versus what you're feeling or what you think, think about always what you want?
Well, I don't know about you, Mr. Bennett, but I know, like me being a Gen Xer, I watched a lot of the kids in my generation, a lot of my friends, when they got married, they got married just so they could have the party and the accolades and the spotlight. They weren't getting married because they actually loved each other and intended on building a life together. You could tell that, because you could tell just in the wedding itself and how they conducted themselves during the wedding and the reception, and then how quickly they fell out after they were married. Yeah. You could tell that it wasn't for anything other than to have attention.
Yeah, it's the party. Yeah, for sure. And I think just in general, a lot of ceremonial aspects, at least here, seem to be for that sole purpose. Like the Sweet 16, the quinceañera, a lot of those, even the bar mitzvah to an extent, a lot of those events were essentially to kind of let the society know that you had eligible women for marriage. Like you were starting to accept proposals, you were starting to accept applications, if you will, for would-be suitors, that you're essentially putting your daughter on the market, so to speak. I mean, that was like a very high society type of function that it was meant for. Now it's just about the party. You're just doing it because you want to have your glam day, you want to be blinged up, but no one's thinking about it in terms of the relational aspects of what these things are. So weddings have become similar in that it's about the wedding and not the marriage. And like I said, people who put I was shared a few weeks ago, I had to go down to the township and renew my dog's license. And there were 2 weddings that were going on. One couple, a Latino couple, couldn't have been more than 20 years old. Had the auntie who might have been like maybe 35 or 40 years old. She was the witness. Cost of the marriage was $150. Then there was an Asian Indian couple. Hey, shout out to Josh. They had to head out, but again, appreciate you being on with us tonight. And again, you're welcome anytime we have a conversation. But like I said, make sure you write and take notes next time so you don't come up here empty-handed. But it was a pleasure having you tonight. But there was an Asian Indian couple, and again, their wedding party might have been about maybe 8-9 people total. Again, same thing. They came to the hall with the dress on, with the wedding dress on. The guy had a suit. They paid $150 at the counter. Our local township representative, he performed the ceremony in the council chamber where they have their board meetings. Boom, it was beautiful, And I just think that, but people get so caught up. I got my daughter; she's in a wedding this summer, and everything seems to be about the wedding itself and where we're going for the bridal party and where we're going for this, and we're going to Vegas and we're going to do this and all that. I'm like, are you talking about the dude that you're marrying?
The future? Are you talking about what you guys plan on doing together? What your goals are? What your life? Me and the wife. I'll be honest with you. We paid for our wedding, and we had probably easily I probably should have spent about $10-15 grand on our wedding, but we had about a $10,000-$15,000 wedding for about $5,000. And what we did, and me and her both did, is we took my income tax and her income tax, and that's what we used one year to pay for our wedding. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And dude, like a kid that was one of my closest friends growing up in school. He was a ordained minister. He's the one that married us. This big 6'3", 280-pound ball-headed dude that looked like the Undertaker in priest robes.
Shout out to the
dude. He looked like the Undertaker in priest robes. I swear to God, with a big ass 2-inch spike sticking out of his lip.
Wow.
Awesome,
but
and then the band that I had that played, and a DJ that, you know, those were people that we knew. The caterer was a guy that I knew, you know. I mean, it came together real easy. You know what I'm saying? And the biggest, look, I'll say this, the biggest advice that I've ever given people is, look, having a marriage and a successful marriage is work. It is work. I'm not going to say it ain't. You know it's work. But it shouldn't.
Actually, I never call it work.
But it shouldn't feel like work.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we all know that we got to put work in, but it shouldn't feel like you're putting in work every day just to keep your marriage together.
All right, so let me ask you this, because again, we talked about this last week. What is the work? Because I don't know. I guess the way my mind works, work is like if you're working in a mine.
Right.
Skyscraper. If you're doing stuff, what is the work that everybody talks about that marriage requires?
Being able to cooperate with each other is work.
You think so?
Yeah, sometimes it can be. You know, being able to cooperate, being able to communicate, being able to be, you know, forthcoming and upfront and honest about things. Being able to be yourself with your partner. A lot of times that can be work. You know, the sharing of the duties around the house. You know what I'm saying? The raising of kids. That's all work. But
I'm down with that, and especially back in the day when it was like, if you lived on a farm or whatever. I mean, when stuff was manual, you didn't have washing machines, you didn't have a lot of those appliances. You were working with. Yeah, I get that, but what you're talking about is, again, the ability to cooperate. I can't look at that because it's so easy for you to do that in other areas of your life. If you go to work, you're cooperating, right? If you're on a sports team, you're cooperating. Nobody has to necessarily tell you how to do that. But for some reason, when it comes to the person who you pledge to love for life, for some reason you have a problem with that. So to me, that's where the work thing comes in, because it comes so easily in other forms. If you took the same attitude in how you work in your marriage to work, you're not going to have a job.
Well, look, it's like this, you know, Mr. Bennett, like me, myself personally, when I had met my wife, it took me a while to be able to understand that a healthy relationship didn't mean that you had to fight every day.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was in so many relationships where that was a constant and a normal thing that I thought that was normal. And to be in a relationship with someone who didn't want to argue, that wanted to talk things out, that wanted to, you know, clear the air and you know, make sure that everything was fine, was unusual to me. I thought that there was something wrong. You know,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Now is 13 years later, dude. I'll be honest, I couldn't imagine going back to any of the other relationships I had before my wife because they were toxic as hell. You know, and I was there. I remember there was one night I was out at the bar and I was doing a gig, and I had this girl. She came up and she wanted to have a one night stand, and I told her that she was crazy. Said, you see, I'm wearing a wedding ring. My wife was here earlier with my son.
Right.
You know, and they left. She said, well, I'm not trying to, you know, marry you or anything or take you from the wife. I just want a one night stand. I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, why would I? Why would I risk my marriage over that? And then she pulled out this, well, what are you, gay or something bullshit? And I was like, no, what it is I finally found a woman that I'm comfortable being myself in my own skin. Yeah. I don't have to hide who I am. Right. I can be who I am and not have to worry about anything. And I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Right.
The problem is, I'm actually doing a show very soon on this, is if they see a ring on your finger, women, like, for some reason think they go after that man for some reason. I don't understand the logic behind it, but I think it's something they cannot have.
I understand it too.
Yeah.
They want what they can't. They want what they can't have. You're already taken, so you must be worth something.
Yeah. Your value goes up 10 times. You know, when you're married. You know what I mean? But if you are our ages and we weren't married yet, the women be like, "What's wrong with you? There must be something wrong with him because he's not married." But the fact that we have been chosen, somebody said, "You know what? He must be worth something." And then a lot of times you get those. I was talking to Mandrell about that, and he was like saying the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's like since he got married, you know, last year, it's like, you know, women be coming at him, you know. Yeah, absolutely, stability, you know, and
great example. When I was engaged, all these girls were like coming and talking to me. I want to be around me, like, I'm like, what, like, 2, 3 years ago, you guys didn't
Where
want
were
to do
you?
shit with me. What
Dude,
is like now you want to talk to me? Fuck you.
My wife used to point out when we go to the bars back when we were younger and we go to the bar and stuff, how I'd piss off, female barmaids and shit because they'd be sitting there trying to flirt with me, stick their tits all up in my face. And I didn't pay attention because I was content with who I was with, so I didn't pay attention to that shit.
Right.
And I was like completely oblivious to all these women that were hitting on me and shit, and it would piss them off. So be it, Yeah, but it's wild how quick women get mad if they don't get that attention from you, even though you're a taken man.
Facts. Very much so.
Because what's wild about that is, don't they claim that they want an honest man that's trustworthy and that they can rely on, count on, that ain't going to go out and screw around on them, but yet they go and try and break up another marriage to have that and think that's what they're going to get. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
But they get pissed when that happens to them. That's the fucked up part.
Absolutely. Man, we got about 6 minutes left in the show. So again, for those of you who are in the chat, again, if you guys want to click on the link and drop in to see us, again, we'd love to hear you guys. I'm looking at the stream tonight. Thank you guys so much for being with us. Had a very lively and active chat tonight. Shout out to my man Anton from New Jersey. The Queen, as always, is in the building. Lady Navoa, good that you're here as well.
She had a question earlier.
Yeah, did you have a question? Go back and post if
Bossman highlighted it.
It says, do men really want to be married, though? That's the question, because a lot of women don't say in their truth on it.
I think men want to be married more than women do.
Personally, I want to be married for one big reason. Like, listen, there's only one woman can deal with my crazy fucking ass. If she has, heart and balls enough to deal with me, kudos to you. Because I don't want to deal with my ass half the fucking times.
Yeah.
Mr. Bennett, let me ask you this. Do you think that you had more money and had more wealth when you were single or when you were married?
Oh, no. Well, I would say now we're coming into it, right? Because like I said, there's a difference between being married and having a family.
Yes.
So investing those resources into my kids. Now I got my youngest when she graduates college in May. Now be my last one. I got one on her way to medical school in over the summer. So, definitely there was a season where it's like everything that we had sort of poured into them. But now we're kind of at that, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And now we're coming into, I think my wife and I were making as much money as we ever did. And certainly on her side is picking up nicely. So as far as like a household income, we're probably at our highest ever. But obviously, when we were younger, again, we didn't have as many as expenses. In fact, I was able to, when we first started having kids, she was home for a number of years, in part because it didn't make economic sense. I mean, my thing is, if you're going to have that many, we had 3 kids in 4 years. Anything that she would have made would have immediately went to daycare.
Yep.
And so keeping her home, I mean, it was good for us. It worked out from a tax point of view. It worked out. And it just made sense. But I would tell anybody to this day, especially if you live in the Northeast, if you're not pulling upwards of 50 plus, I don't know if it's worth it for you to work, knowing that basically every dollar, commuting, all those other expenses you got to put in, you got to do the math and see, are your kids going to be better off? Would it be better if you stayed home with your kids, at least for those formative years until they get to preschool or kindergarten or whatever, and then go back to work at that time? But if not, then you're just spinning your wheels, and it may be even more expensive than not. I mean, people spend $400 or $500 a week on childcare.
I was going to say, man, them daycare expenses are freaking astronomical right now,
and it's slated to go up. So again, you really have to sit down and do that math. So I was like, yeah, you stay home, and I'll gut it out for a while. Once they got to school age, my last one turned 6, then she went back into the workforce, and we just kind of built from there. But then we had to get them through college, and paying, the bills are coming in, we're paying the college loans back and all that kind of stuff. So again, we got to clear some of that air. But yeah, we're setting ourselves up, I guess, for this new chapter in our lives. This month will complete 28 years.
Well,
And
salute to you guys.
Appreciate it. And so we're looking forward to this new chapter in our lives. So yeah, so I think over the long run, over the arc, to get back to your question, I think over the arch, I think you wind up with more at the end. It doesn't mean that you may have to dip in a little bit, especially once the kids come around. But like I said in another show, there are people who are opting out, and they're starting to say, you know what? I don't necessarily I want kids. Now I got nieces. If I want kids, I got nieces, I got nephews, I got people I can pour into, I can mentor people or whatever. But you know, these folks, they want to travel, they want to do certain things or whatever. So again, there's a lot of younger Zers and younger millennials who are not into that. Their fur babies are their kids. And so that's becoming more of a reality. That's becoming more of a reality now also. So it's not even, you know, a given that, okay, yeah, we're going to get married and have a family, or at least how people define family is going to be very different, I think, in the future.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that. I think families, the whole family dynamic has shifted altogether. You know, I mean, what's a traditional family in today's world?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, can you even give a description of what it is and what it looks like now?
I think you can, but then there's a gentleman, he was talking about this idea. Again, different cultures have different definitions of that as well. There's also village living, communal living. Mm-hmm. That again, we may find people even in this country. We already kind of see it with Latinos. Like again, I'm surrounded. My whole neighborhood is surrounded, and again, it's it's marriage centered, but it's multi-family. So you'll get like a 2-3 bedroom home, whatever, and there's 2 or 3 families in it, or you'll get like a duplex and you got multi-families in it. And so you keep the dynamic, you keep sort of the culture going. You combine resources. Look, if it got to a point where my kids was like, you know what, it's too expensive out there, and we just wanted to pool our money and get like a bigger place, because clearly I think I've outgrown my 4-bedroom home. It's right. Like, well, I already know it's like nobody wants to live here longer than they have to. Mm-hmm. We wanted to pull our resources and get like a building, because they're you know, becoming gainfully employed, and you know, let's say my daughter's going to be a doctor. I got one who's going to be in finance. I got another one who's working in supply chain. So if we wanted to say, you know what, let's just combine all our resources and get some sort of multi-unit so everyone's going to have their own spot, everything, but it's investment property in the family. I would love that. I'm just trying to sell them on it, but they're not not buying it yet. But
I have a cat. There's this cat I went to school in that him and his wife. Well, he married this girl that he went to school with, and then her brother, and then her mom and dad, and her brother and his wife, and then her mom and dad. They ended up moving to was in North Carolina, and they bought this piece of mountain out there. All right, and basically what they did is him and my buddy and his wife are at the top of it. The brother and his wife is in the middle of it, and then mom and dad are at the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and they all own this, basically a compound together.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I honestly see survival going that path anyhow if people are going to make it in the future. Cool. You know, going back to the whole, you know, family and extended family all living together on some kind of compound or farm or something. You know, trying to make ends meet, because, dude, the way inflation is going and the way prices keep surging, and I mean, just the fact that it's getting harder and harder to be able to even afford a home on your own.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially in the Northeast, it's crazy now. Even just rental property, the average minimum is $1,500 to $2,000 just to rent.
Me and the wife,
I pay $1,600, and I have a hole in the wall. There's nothing to brag. Yeah. And you've been to my house. You see how bad it is.
Me and the wife, we live north of Fort Wayne, Indiana. So basically between Fort Wayne and Michigan. All right. And it's a little 2-acre farmhouse. And we pay, I think it's a little over $1,200 a month for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a 2-acre, 2-story farmhouse. And like I said, it's got 5 bedrooms in it. Mm-hmm. You know, got a decent size workshop outside and everything, but dude,
the fact that you got land, I mean, you can add on to it. Like where I'm at, I can't add on. I added a deck a couple years ago, but there's no more space to build on it. But I think you certainly have that option to build.
Well, see, me and her have thought about one, you know, because me and her were dumb when we were younger, and we didn't do things correctly to get ourselves, you know, financially in a spot to be able to buy. So we've been renting most of our life, and we didn't start actually working on our credit and trying to get us in that position until about 4 years ago.
Yeah,
you know, and we're almost there to where we can get a home loan, you know, but we don't know if we want to keep this place because we're renting it, obviously, you know. But also the problem that we see is the suburbs are surrounding us.
Yeah.
Now, like, we're one of the few last farmhouses out here where they've taken all the farms and they've turned them into subdivisions everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, little gated communities popping up all over the place, you know, and
now that may increase your property value, though. So,
it may, but it also might put a big old target on your head too, you know, when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
You know, because think about it, you know, where one thing I will say is, like, all these little subdivisions around us, they have a problem with break-ins and stuff. Nobody ever tries to break into my garage or my house.
Yeah.
But my house is like an old Amish farmhouse, you know?
Right.
And dude, and I don't plan on, really, honestly, I told the wife, I don't plan on ever doing anything with, like, you know, giving the outside a facelift. I think I'm going to keep it looking, you know, old and, you know, semi run down.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Vintage.
Well, I have an issue with these communities for a second here. You pay all these fucking dues.
I don't live in one of
you. In general, I'm talking about. I wasn't speaking to you. Like, I lived in 3 different communities before, and these dues are ridiculous. $2,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year, and they don't collect your garbage. They barely clean the snow. You can use the clubhouse if you're lucky. So why?
Association fees can get out.
HOAs are why me and the wife refuse to get a house in a gated community.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, HOAs deter, you know, riffraff for the most part. I mean, you'll have a little bit of here and there, you know, with random people coming in and trying to do little break-ins here and there, it happens, but I don't like all the rules.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, being told that what kind of cars and vehicles you can park it, and whether or not you can even park them in your driveway, and how tall your grass is. Dude, there might be a month that I'm so busy that I don't get to mowing my grass.
Exactly.
And it might be as tall as wheat.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It happens, especially the back 40.
I never deal with HOA tell me what kind of vehicle I can have in my property, but I dealt with it. Oh, you need to get a permit to get a fence. You need to get first a permit from the state, then you gotta get a permit from us, then you gotta have to get another permit. I'm like, how many fucking permits do I need? And whoa. You can only have X, Y, and Z. You cannot have 1, 2, or 3, or B, A, and C. You can only have this kind. I'm like, you can kiss my hairy. Oh, by the way, I have to use our contractor too. You can't use your own. Like, look, you can kiss my hairy, shiny Greek ass.
See, I think if they did away with property tax, that would do away with the permits, because now the state doesn't own the land anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how they get away with it, is because they technically own the land if they're taxing you for it.
True that.
Right? True that. I mean, because when you buy a house, aren't taxes already factored into the house price when you buy it?
No. Well, it's the thing is, it might be initially, but it's always changing. And typically it goes up over time. So
right, but what I'm saying is, why do you have to pay tax on something forever?
Yeah.
I mean, do you truly own it if you're still paying tax on it after it's paid off?
Right.
I mean, land is the only thing that we buy that we're paying tax on till we're done with it.
Exactly. Very true. Well, listen, we are coming towards the end of the show, but Angry Man, I wanted to shout you out. Also, I know you understand you have a channel as well.
Yeah, actually, I went on hiatus for about 4 months, but I've got some new content that I'm going to be. I was going to stream tonight, but I got a little late, so I'm going to do my first stream tomorrow. Actually, I'm doing a stream about a guy apparently in Michigan who he robbed a bank up in Michigan so he could supposedly pay for his daughter's cancer treatments. And when he got arrested and got sentenced for it, he ended up getting 25 years. And you know, there's that. I want to have a discussion about it simply because, you know, Should he have gotten leniency because of the reason why he robbed the bank, or should we still hold him to the fullest extent of the law because he broke the law?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a real discussion that could be had there about this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. But so definitely looking forward to the show tomorrow. Make sure you guys, if you can, hop over to the Angry Snowman's channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to that. And certainly looking forward to the content that you'll be dropping out.
Absolutely.
But as we wind down the show, Pete, any closing comments? Again, it's been a lively show. Again, it's always appreciate when our fans, when you guys come on and chop it up with us. Joshua, again, as always, you're always welcome in the space. Love having you on and chopping it up. But
Josh is a Fed. We can't trust him.
I need to get you guys. So we get you guys back.
We have to remind everybody what is next week. Do you know what next week is, Paul? I'm going to tell you what next week is.
Actually, hang on, boss man. If you're in the back, if you can help us with that show banner, if you could just post that up for us real quick.
There we go. So we are privileged to be the second. We were supposed to be the first one, but CQ beat me to the punch, this son of a bitch. We're supposed to be the second. People are going to interview Dwayne White. He is a veteran / comedian. He has his first live coming up on Netflix very soon, so please look out for that. And he's going to be on for 2 whole hours with us. We're going to break his balls. We're going to break his brain. We're going to do everything.
And he is last. I watched about 5 or 6 of his bits. His content. Yeah, very funny guy. So I'm definitely looking forward to this myself, and to go from, because I didn't even know the military had like a comedy type of circuit or what have you, and now the guy's about to drop his first Netflix special. So I feel very honored that he would take the time to be with us and chop up. So I'm looking forward to learning more about his military background. I think it's 20 years plus in the military. So I'm sure he has a lot of stories from that, but then making this transition in comedy. So I'm definitely looking forward to this conversation.
Dude,
so
that's
encourage
big.
everybody come back to the show and and support us that night. And as we break bread with Mr. Dwayne.
This is probably one of our top.
Dude, this is big, dude. You guys should be proud of yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we're just blessed. I mean, shout out to CQ and all those guys in that veteran space. I mean, Pete, he's got a lot of relationships out there, and this just happened to fall into our lap. And so we're very fortunate. And we just like to keep this place, again, a place for, again, respectful conversation and just allow people to share their stories and backgrounds. And especially when I'm always with the vets. In fact, certainly, Angry Man, we need to have you, Angry Snowman, we need to have you on. Because the one question I'm always asking, especially with guys who've been military, comes from those kind of backgrounds, again, the gray area of your life. Because a lot of times I see a lot of vets, they go into the service and they have a lot of ideas about, right and wrong and things like that, but how the military sort of shape your views, when you see other parts of the world and how other people live and whatnot. So again, I'm always interested in that perspective that is gained by our vets. But again, we want to keep this a space where, again, we keep uplifting conversation, finding out how much we're different. I love cultural exchange, but I also like to figure out how we're the same. So again, we live in a world that is not black and white. There's a whole lot of gray. And but I think I think one thing we need to learn in these spaces is that we're a lot more similar than we are different. And so as long as we can keep that conversation going, we want to be the place where that happens, particularly on the BMU network as well as on the Sparta HQ network. So we're inviting everybody to come back next Sunday, 9:30, same time, same channel, as we introduce Mr. White. And looking forward to his next Flex special. So
before we go, Paul, I want to pull the curtain back, the back scene stuff, but people don't realize. So when I go to Comic-Con, or me and Paul, should I say, go to Comic-Cons, and we talk to these people, interview people, I'm making connections for us. So these connections going to, I may know a person or a person. I'm like, okay, and that how we get connections and the relations building. So obviously I know CQ for 20 plus years, I've been bugging him for, help me out here, dude. Give me a little more emotion. This is the first step of bigger and better things. This is going to blow up eventually. We know this. Not if it's going to. This will be the #1 show on the BMU and it's part of the NSQ network and the #1 on YouTube. Not if it's going to be. So enjoy the ride. Simple as that. But this is a really big thing for me and for Paul because I've been working on this for a while with him. So I'm just glad I finally locked him in. More than pissed I I thought I had him first for CQ, but I'm gonna deal with that later.
CQ pulled the military card, man.
Fuck yeah, he did.
He probably had it in the same can all the time. So.
I'll be honest with you, fellas. I firmly believe that these conversations, these kind of platforms where you have multicultural, very diverse panels and discussions, are actually actively becoming part of history.
Mm.
You know, and I think that that's something that people. This is something that people are going to look back on, and I think that we're going to, you know, us folks that have been on these panels doing this circuit for quite some time are going to be seen as, you know, the arbiters of trying to make change in this country, and it is going to be a big part of history.
Absolutely,
I really do. I believe that with all my heart.
So when I approached, was it a year ago, Paul? Now a little more.
Yeah, it was always, I can't believe it. Like, it doesn't feel that, but yeah, it's been like a year plus. We've been doing it.
We started yesterday. When I first approached,
damn, I've been rocking with you guys for over a year already.
Yeah.
Wow,
time flies, bro.
Yeah. So when I approached Paul with the idea, like I was just launching, already had my channel going, but I was launching my live stuff, but I wanted to get another day in. And I went, Paul, you know what? Paul is my guy. I called him up. We talked, we're going back and forth with the idea. I pitched the idea. Then we got BMU involved. Then we got everybody else involved. It was just one little idea, like breaking the walls. That's where the ideas came from, breaking these fucking walls down.
There's got to be people that are brave enough to go out and have the discussions that nobody wants to have. Mm-hmm. Somebody's got to be willing to basically be the for lack of better words, the martyr or the shot heard around the world on the internet. Right. Somebody's got to be willing to be that, that somebody's got to cross the line and be able to say, hey, let's just sit and scream at each other till we stop screaming at each other if it's necessary.
Well, that's the thing. We don't but that's not an energy that we bring it. Part of this platform also is, again, we want to show people you don't have to scream at each other.
Right.
Because more times than not, you agree more so than you don't. There might be different, differences here and there, but they're not the major ones. So again, how can we have a respectful dialogue? How can we show people how to talk, even when we disagree? So I think the temperament that we set on this show. Now, this isn't like what do you call it? I could show you one of those chaotic shows where everybody just is kind of going at it. Now that's not
like Fight Club.
Yeah, this is definitely not.
Now I think about it, Paul. We never got an real argument. You want to get an argument? Just get it out of our system.
No,
I
have no argument. I just think people are shaped and formed as Josh was saying earlier. Yeah.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
If you win the argument, I do whatever you want. If I win the argument, you come skydiving with me.
I think you guys should argue for push-ups.
I think he should skydive. I think he should skydive with me.
Well, first of all, he'll lose the push-up battle for sure. But yeah, the only screaming I can see doing is if I jump out of the airplane. That's when you see me screaming. But I'm not.
I have a trick. So if we do push-ups, I'm gonna have a liquid ass in my hand. So I spray you, and like you won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Do you think people have forgotten that they can have disagreements and not agree on everything and still be friends?
100%. I mean, but I think it gets lost because I think, and maybe some of the space has something to do with it, where people got more tribal, we got more territorial, and we got more ideological, and we don't necessarily understand like what's really going on. The fight is not between me and you. There's forces that are bigger than us. So again, we're gonna have to come together on certain things, like if we want this thing to work. And so being level-headed, I think in these spaces, I think is becoming more of an essential. But yeah, I've seen the screaming matches and whatnot. I've seen people break. I've seen friendships end over stuff that is really at the end of the. And the thing is, the crazy thing at the end of the day, the things that you're arguing over, give it trivial. Time to me is the greatest teacher of all. Mm-hmm. And over time, that thing you were arguing about, even in relationships and marriage, I've seen people who've been split for years, but then you realize at the end, give it time, that thing that you were arguing over really wasn't that important. Now the question is, do you have the humility to admit it, and the bravery to go and make it right?
That's the hard pill to swallow.
Of marriages, there's a lot of people who could get back to, who are split today, that could get back together, but they won't because they're too stubborn to admit that they were wrong.
The hardest pill to swallow is personal accountability.
Bro.
You know, on in every aspect of life, that is the hardest pill to swallow. To take accountability for your own part in everything that went wrong.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my boss goes to me the other day, not my chef, my boss goes to me, I'm way too honest. I'm like, where that was a problem being honest in the world? And I got yelled at for that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. First time I got yelled at for being honest. I get yelled at for doing other stupid shit. By being honest, it's the first one for me. Have you ever been yelled at for being honest, Paul?
Oh, sure.
First for me.
But what I try not to do is I try not to, again, I don't want to keep throwing gas on it. It's like,
my uncle always told me,
this is what I meant. And let's have a combo and be like, okay. But again, but if that can't happen, then I'm the type, look, I bounce from the conversation. When you're ready to have the conversation, then we can talk. But again, I'm too old. I'm 55. I'm too old to be going back and forth with people on things. You know, when you get to a point where, you know what, this isn't sinking in, it's really not worth it at this point. To keep going at it. You stay in your space, you stay in mine. We agree to disagree, and we may not come together again on something. But again, I'm just too old to be in these battles all the time. And so, yeah, that's definitely something that's changed about me in the last few years. That is certainly, and my life is a lot less stressful because of that. And so yeah, I think that, if we can just maintain that same energy here, we can, hopefully we can make a difference and, be some light in a world that's becoming darker. But
my uncle, he told me one thing about honesty. He said, it's one thing to be honest, but there's a such thing as being too honest.
Mm-hmm.
You can be you can be honest to your own detriment at times.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that.
We need some wisdom, right? I mean, we always also talk about, it's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes also.
Mm-hmm.
You can be honest, but you can also have some grace. Mm-hmm. Be honest with people. So again, there's things you can do to mitigate the situation as well. It may require some dexterity, but it is possible. And but if you're dealing with humble people, you should be able to take it also and be like, all right, let me at least at the end of the day say, you know what? Let me think about that one.
Who's humble or practices humility anymore these days? Or practices integrity. I mean, who even knows what those words mean anymore?
Well, all we can do is present our best.
Pray and do a lot of praying. Pray for these souls.
Indeed. Angry Snowman, pleasure again. You're welcome anytime. Next time we try to do an open panel once a month. Sometimes we get off a little bit depending on the guests and whatnot that we have, but once a month we try to have these open panels. You're welcome back anytime. And,
I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I appreciate you guys and BMU always giving me an open invite to come over and hop on the platform, man. Greatly appreciate it. And I love what you guys do over here, man. Don't agree with everything, but that's what part of being an adult's about.
You'll be all right. So next time you come in, all right. So here's what we're going to do. Next time you come in, you got to take your notes also. When you come in, you need to have something for us. You need to drop something on us. So call out to Josh. I'm calling out to you. Make sure you have your stuff together. So come in, give us something that we can volley over a little bit.
Right. Well, this time there wasn't nothing that you guys said that I disagreed on. Marriage is my thing. That's where I'm at.
Disagreed in the past. I'm saying so.
Yeah.
You got to take notes with us. Take notes, and so when you can come back to the notepad and be like, "Yeah, on that show back 3 months ago, you were talking about this," so we can kind of bring it up again. We got no problem.
Hey, you know me. I ain't got no problem coming up here. I pushed back multiple times on multiple people about stuff.
Yes, you have indeed.
And so before you go, I want to ask you a question. You say Paul mentioned you were in the military. What branch?
I was never in the military, sir.
Okay, I thought
I never served. I was in the militia.
Okay. Gotcha.
You know what? That may be a good topic for us. How about we could bring you back in like 2-3 weeks and talk about the militia?
Yeah. I was actually you remember, if you remember the 2016 RNC in Cleveland when Trump got nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you know how they were talking all over the news and everything about there was a militia up in Cleveland walking around.
Yeah.
I was one of the guys that they were talking about that was walking around. I was all over the news, got interviewed. I mean, there's still video clips and photos of me online. If you look up West Ohio Minutemen on a Google search, you go to the pictures, the second picture, you'll see a picture of me.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so
like in a week or two, about 2 or 3 weeks, give or take, come back and have that conversation with you. How's that sound?
yeah, that's cool, man.
Okay.
right.
Awesome. Well, with that, I am Pete. Any last things close out? We good?
Make sure you get your butts in here next week because I put a lot of work and get this guy in.
Awesome. Yep. Looking forward to it. Forward to it. For myself, Mr. Bennett, he is.
This is Sparta!
He is the ghost of Sparta. He is the angry snowman, aka Talcum X. This has been the gray area. You guys have a great week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Good night.